just stand, squat, nice and easy. Look at what your legs are doing, knees and toes pointed the same direction. So it's just a nice, easy motion. Good, now just stand and move the hips around. So I call this, climbing over the fence. Ooh, my hip popped. So our first squat was small. Then we did what I call climbing the fence, where you're rolling the hips back and forth. And now we're in a wide plie squat. The wider the legs, the more you're able to lower your body down to the ground, or you should be able to. Okay, the hips will automatically lean back just a slight bit, and the upper body leans forward a slight bit, but it's not a bow. Good, and bringing the legs in together now, and then just kick forward and back, forward and back. And if you can do it without touching the ground, it would be great. If your foot doesn't touch the ground, you're working also on a little bit of balance. And switch sides. Good, and bending the knee up. And it's not a march, it's a step and a pull, getting a little bit of stretch in the back. You do want to be careful as you bring your legs up, not to tuck the back. If you have access to a wall, you can hold on to the wall if needed for balance as well. And we're going to the back. So here I'm a little less concerned about the technique. Reaching back behind you, abs stay tight. Try not to let the leg come in front of you, just so you can grab the ankle. And it opens up the front hips. Good. And a staggered stance here. So I have my left leg forward, right leg back. You're just going to bend forward and back. And I know you can't see my feet here, but what I want you to do is bring that back heel up. And you're just shifting your body forward and back. Back. A little bit of ankle flexibility there. Good. Shift onto that back leg, which is my right. Straighten out the front left. Hip hinge back, sticking your bum out. Try not to rotate, open to the right side. You're going to rotate to the left if you can, and reach down a little bit to that left leg. Bring the body up, place that toe down, and we're going to shift and turn the other way. Right, so going into a lunge position, right leg is forward, shifting forward and back. Good. And I am coming up on that back heel a little bit, allowing that front ankle to get a little bit of mobility. Trying to keep the hips square to the front, abs tight. Good. And shift the weight back, placing the left foot solidly on the floor. Pull the right toe up. You're going to, concentration-wise, you're going to want to keep the back extended, abs tight, and then flex from your hips down towards that right leg. If you need to hold on to something, feel free to. Good. And placing that foot down, shift the weight to the front. And if you need to use a wall, feel free to for balance. We're going to do something I call these soccer kicks. Okay, so what you're going to do is turn your foot out, and you're going to swing it to the front and the back, and it's turned out. If you can do this standing, that's wonderful. If you need assistance at all, that's also wonderful. And you're trying to cross the body as much as you can to the front and behind you. Good. Now, same leg, and I want you to turn the foot in. So now it's internally rotated as you go forward and back. Good. And now we're going to do movement where we're external to the front, kick the leg out, internal to the back. External to the front, toes go out, kick the leg out, internal to the back. So the toes are pointing away from you in the front and in towards you in the back. Good. And let's switch legs. So again, if you need to hold on to something, feel free to. Your feet are going to be turned out. It's externally rotated, and it's forward and back in that external rotated position. Good. And what we're going to do now is turn your foot inward and internally rotate. So front and back. So the toes point in towards you in both directions. Good. And this last one is the foot will turn out in the front and in the back. Out in the front and in the back. Good. And then march it out and kind of swerve those hips around. Right? So it's a wide squat, abs stay tight, and you're going to hinge your hips anterior to the front as you squat down, just like a normal squat. Good. And now what I want you to do is I want to do a posterior pelvic tilt where you tuck and you're going to go down and stay in that posterior tilt. Now do be careful with this, because a lot of times when you're posterior tilting, if the weight gets shifted incorrectly, it's going to go towards the knees and it can cause a little bit of strain in the knees. So be careful that you're not going super low if you're feeling strain in the knees. Good. Now anterior, which is what we just did, and posterior, and anterior, and posterior. So we're alternating between positions in this squat. The way. Good. And one more. Let's go posterior. Good. And now, bringing the block over, and you could use it any which way you're comfortable doing. We're going to get into that low squat. So they call it an Asian squat, as low as you can go. And knee position at this point is kind of, to me, a little bit irrelevant, because if you're close together, that's fine, but that's really going to be dependent on the thighs, how long they are. So you can go a little wider if needed. And the thing with this is if you can't stay in that low position, what I want you to do is bring this block here and then hang out on the block. If you can get your heels all the way down, that would be wonderful. And then a little bit more focus on that hip opening up is to put your hands on the inside of your legs and just gently open up the hips. Chest up. As you open the legs up with your arms, it's not curved chest and then arms open. I want you to open up that chest with it and allow the arms to open the legs. Good. Now if you can go even lower, go lower. So look at the position of your hips and make sure they're nice and wide. Try to stay and just kind of relax in this position. My heels are down, my chest is up. Good. All right, now we're going all the way down onto the ground into a butterfly. And if you can't sit where your pelvis is kind of in a neutral position, your sit bones are going back, you're welcome to sit on a block here and then putting the feet out, okay? Block, cushion, whatever you like. You have to kind of be careful sometimes. Depending on your hip bones, you could actually fall off one side, right? So if you can sit all the way down, great. And if you can't, that's fine as well. And you're just gonna hold this position. I like to grab under my ankles here, pull the chest through the arms. So I'm pinching and pulling my shoulder blades back together. You're welcome to close your eyes, take deep breaths, relax into this, and just really feel what your body's doing. Good. And now we're going into a little bit of active butterflies. So it's a small little movement back and forth like this. This is where I really want you to notice what your legs are doing. If your butterfly is super, super high, when you're watching TV at night, maybe this is a position you should be sitting in and kind of working into. Small, little, slow butterflies and pushing those knees down to the ground. Good. And relax. And now you're going to crisscross those legs, and whatever leg's in front, it happens to be my right. We're going into a stretch all the way over, right? So you want one leg crossed over the other, right? And just let it relax and hold the stretch. And relax and switch. Again, crossing the other leg in front, going all the way over. Noticing how easy, how hard. It's when I definitely feel a lot more in that left hip joint, right up in that socket. Again, perfect opportunity, what I call a TV stretch. Now, I forgot to mention this. I'm going to be doing some kneeling stretches, so if you want to get a cushion, towel, blanket, anything for your knee, feel free to. And relax and unhook this stretch, and we're going into a kneeling position. So it looks like a lunge, but one foot's turned out. So basically, my back leg is going to be pointed to the front, and my front leg is going to be pointed to the side. But you open up that hip, so the hip is squared to the front. Your other leg is about 90 degrees at this point, right? So your forward stretch and back to the back leg. So we're getting two different hip stretches right here. Good. Now lunge forward, keeping that back hip, placing the hands down onto the ground. So you're doing the same exact position, but now you're just leaning to that front leg. You're placing your hands on the ground, and what I want you to do is swerve the hips around in a circle. So you're going towards your hands and away from your hands, and towards your hands and away from your hands. If you need assistance here, this is where those blocks again come in handy. You can place your hands on blocks to keep you a little more upright off the floor. About one more here, and then go the other direction. Good. Straighten that leg out, the front leg, or that, not the lunge under you leg, but the leg in front. Straighten it out. Hold on to in front, so if your hands are on the floor, that's fine. If your hands are on the block, that's fine. and slide that leg out as far away from you as you can get it. Right, so if you want to be on that block, that's fine. And I'm going to lower my body down so you can see my back. I want you to curve the butt up, arch the back so the belly goes down to the floor. Good. Walk your hand back up. Slowly slide that leg back in. Now we're going to do the other side. So, my left leg is now pointing towards the front. My right leg is going to turn out to the side. You're going to square the hips up to the front, and you're just going to lean into it forward and back. Good. Now again, here's where if you need blocks, you can place the blocks in front to assist with this, or your hands go all the way down to the floor. So if I were using the blocks, this is where I'd place it. If not, go all the way down to the floor and create some circles with those hips. Good, and go the other direction. Again, using the block if you like, placing your hand on the block, slide open that right leg. So it's extended out, and I'm kind of in a lateral split. Here I'm flexed forward a little bit. So it's just a different part of the hip that's opening up. And you kind of want to bring those hips slightly forward if you can. A lot of times when you get into a lateral split here, your hips go back and you get flexion from the other leg. I want you to try to bring those hips up a little bit more forward. Then placing the weight back into your hands, slide the other leg back in, and we're going to be sitting down onto the floor. So if you need a block again to sit on, you can sit on it here. You're going to place one leg out into a figure 4 straight leg hip flex position. So we're here. Again, now your one leg is in front, the other leg is externally rotated. As you do this stretch, you don't want to accidentally open your hip up, okay? So make sure the hips are pointing straight ahead. You draw that other leg up, and you just kind of rock the externally rotated hip down. And you can start with your left leg. I just started with the right. We'll be switching off. If you have the strap handy, you can reach towards your foot now and stretch. Now there's going to be some stress from the ankle of the leg that's up on top. So if you find a little discomfort in that, feel free to move your leg just slightly over or slightly back. But be careful where the ankle position is, because if you go too far back, then all you're going to do is get an ankle bend and not a stretch from the hip. Okay, so you're going to grab the foot in front, breathe, you can close your eyes, feel what the body's doing. Good. Bringing the body back up, unhook the leg, stretch it out. You can jog them if you need. And then bringing the other leg up into that figure 4. And jog down. Again, noticing how much motion you have or don't. I don't have a lot of motion there. I actually have to do a lot of assisting with that. Good. And then grabbing onto the leg in front if you need to. Use a strap. Again, relaxing the body, closing your eyes, big deep breaths, and just feel what's releasing. Trying to get the concentration into that hip. Good. Bringing the body back up again. Ooh. work that leg, shake it out. Now, you can keep your block, your towel, or anything close by because you can sit on this one. We're going into it's sort of a Diva Stretch, but not the same. So my Diva Stretch is here, kind of a mermaid where both legs are in front. What I want you to do is actually think of more like a pigeon, right? Where that front leg is at 90 degrees in front of you and the back leg is behind you. So you'll notice I'm kind of torqued a little bit where I'm twisting, and my goal is to keep my hips level. So what I want you to do is, if you notice you can't sit level, is put the block or cushion underneath the hip of the leg that's in front, right? So I'm going to lift my hip up, put my right leg, my right hip on the block, and then go into that 90 right here. So this leg is flush with the body, this leg's in front, and then you want your tibia crossing front. Into a little sequence from here. So this is where, if you have your cushions handy, we're going to be lying over on top of, and so you might want to grab your bolster cushion for the next move. You're going to lean over, so if you have the bolster, the cushion, so you can lower onto that cushion, push your hips back. Your body's lying over the front knee. Feel the release that you get from that front hip, and if you want to go into that pigeon move where you slide your back leg, which is my left, back and try to straighten it out behind you. Now if you do that, it's not out to the side, it's out and back behind you to where it's opening up the hip. Keep your right hip back and then sink over the top again. So if you can't straighten out that back leg, it's fine. Keep it here at that 90 degrees. And then keep that flexion. Bring your body up. Now what you're going to do is the same leg. We're going to take that block out from underneath you. Cushion out from underneath you. You're going to place those legs back down onto the floor in that 90-90 position. I move my cushion over so I can lean on it. So I'm just going to lie down, kind of relaxed. Okay, my front leg's still at 90, and I'm going to kick my left leg out on top. Okay. What I want to do is focus in on trying to rotate that front leg. Now you'll notice I don't have very much, so that's what we're working on. Turning that front heel up towards the ceiling. Right? Very nice, Jamie. Can you keep your knee down? And then rotate that heel up. It's kind of like what I call the hacky sack move when we're standing. Now, you're welcome to assist with the opposite hand. Okay? But you'll notice when I do that, my leg slightly slides up. So be careful that it doesn't slide up too high so I'm not using my back to get any of the motion. Good. Release that front leg and you're going to kick it out in front of you. And then bring it back in and kick it out and bring it back in. And you'll notice I'm not doing it in a straight line and my foot doesn't drag along the floor. I'm actually doing that with an external rotation. So as I bring my knee back or bend my knee, my foot comes back. I'm trying to lift my heel up as high as I can and then kick that foot out and lift the heel up as high as I can. So what's awesome about this is I'm actually getting up higher than I originally did when I was just lifting that foot up off the floor. Now if you want to test to see how much more mobility you have, pull that leg back in, put it down to the ground, and then externally rotate. So I did get a lot more motion now. Very happy about that. And then if you can, you're going to hold that heel back up again and then tilt your whole body over that leg. So you still want to externally rotate, and then you're going to bring your left hip to the right hip or to the right thigh. Make sure it's the hip doing the motion and not your upper body. back down again. Perfect. And then you're going to relax the legs and sit up. So instead of getting up and switching, let's just go right into this next move, and then we'll switch sides altogether. So this is, it's like a pigeon move, but lying down. So I'm going to move my block out a little bigger so I can just lie down a little better. What you're going to do is, same motion here, bring that leg up, and I want you to bend the other knee. So it is a figure 4 bent knee, both legs. However, when you do this, you're going to notice as you bring the other leg up and bend the knee, your body's going to want to rock back towards the floor. What I want you to do is push those hips forward. You do want to be careful that you're not sliding down with the midsection of your body. So that's where this cushion comes in a little handy. If you are, you can use the cushion to push up even more underneath you. And the more your left leg bends and externally rotates that right leg, because your knee's on the ground and your hip is stationary, you should be getting a really big hip stretch on that right side. Good. Slowly bring it back down to the ground, slide the legs together and release. And we're going to switch sides. The hip is on the block. If it was before, the front leg is parallel to the front, and then the back leg is along line with the hip. And your goal is to push the hips level. Because I need something right in the middle, not this low but not this high. I put my hand on the block and I push away from the block, and it forces this hip to come back down and level. So if that assists too. And if you have your block or bolster in front, again, keep it available. Good. And walk your body to the front. Again, if you're on something, push those hips back. You don't want the hips to roll forward, come with you. Good. Walking the hand back in. You're going to put that block underneath you, under your lateral side. The front leg is all the way down on the ground. Lie over. Straighten out that top leg, which is now my right. And you're going to try to lift the left heel. It's the leg on the ground. For Jamie, yeah, it's the right one. And if you can't, like for me, that's a really difficult thing to do. You might want to just hold into a stretch. Releasing the leg and kicking it forward and bending and bringing it back. And as you're bringing it back, you're bringing it up towards the ceiling. So it's a kick out and then bring that heel back and up towards the ceiling. Kick out and back and up towards the ceiling. So you're really forcing into that the external rotation as the leg is coming back in. Good. And then keeping that knee bent, rotating over the top of it. Now this one here, I actually have to move my bolster down a little bit so that my waist doesn't sink down. And you're going to bend that top leg, so bend the right, place your left ankle on the right knee and scoot that right foot in. So you're at a 90 degree stretch with a figure 4. Here's the thing, again, don't let your hips rock back. You want to push those hips forward. Bring that right leg in as much as possible, and you can lie your body down. Don't let it absorb into the hips here. So you're not curving down into lifting that right hip up. The right hip is going forward. You can bring
bring the right leg up off the ground. So you're actively lifting the right leg. It's stabilizing the hips, and it's going to really create more of a stretch into that left hip because you're trying to stabilize your hips. Good, and release. Now just again, double check how much internal rotation do you have now, or excuse me, external. One of these days I'm going to get this right, external rotation.
Now, from here, rolling over onto your back. If you want to bring your strap, you can, because we're going to go into a single leg happy baby. So onto your back, and whichever leg you decide to go first. Right, so I'm going to start with my left, putting a strap or just grabbing onto my foot, so you don't even have to have a strap available. And keeping the hips down. So what's going to happen is you drive this knee down into your body here. Your hips are going to want to turn towards the side of the leg that you're bending, okay? So I'm going to do this without a strap because I don't want a strap, right? So as I bend my left leg, bringing that left knee into my body, leg, and anchor that right hip into the floor, and then really just work on bringing that left knee into your side or past your body. So it's a lot of flexion. You're holding onto the knee, you're getting a little bit of calf stretch as well, opening up some of that hamstring on the inside, and anchoring your body down with that right leg so you don't rotate over to the left. If it helps to extend the leg and then bend it again, feel free, you can do that a couple times. And then bend and hold. And you also want to make sure that that foot is at about a 90-degree angle. So keeping the hands on the foot or the strap, extend that leg up. Bend the knee, sinking it back into the side of your body. Keep the foot at 90 degrees. Don't let the heel drop. Good. And extend that leg up. Good. And then bending the knee again. And then slowly letting it come down to the floor, allowing the foot to slide down to the floor, and then slide that leg all the way straight. You're going to bring the right leg up, grabbing onto the foot using that strap, and then pulling the knee laterally to the side. Again, you're going to try to anchor down with your left hip. So if your knee's bent on the left side and you notice you don't have a lot of control, then what I want you to do is extend that left leg, anchor your body down, and then really work on driving that right knee into the side of your body or to the side of your body with the right heel pointing up at the ceiling. So it's not a knee flex position where you're stretching out the hamstring. It's literally the heel is up towards the ceiling. And then if you can, extend the leg up, driving the heel towards the ceiling, straightening the thigh. Big deep breath, relax, bending the knee, heel points to the ceiling, drive the knee laterally to the side. Good, pushing the heel back up, straighten the leg out. Bending the knee, driving the heel back up towards the ceiling. Does it get any lower? Does your knee drive down lower? Now slowly, slowly, slowly bring that leg back down again. Stretching out both the legs, point the toes, reach over your head and stretch. And then one more position here into an actual happy baby. So sliding the legs back in, bending the knees. Your hook line first, then allow the legs to bend into the chest. Try to grab your feet here. Drive the heels up towards the ceiling. Both knees to the sides of the body. Hands to the outside of the toes or outside of the feet, pulling them into a more flattened position. Your elbows can go on the inside of the knees, and then really relax on driving the knees back towards the floor with your pelvis still kind of on the floor. So you don't want to tuck the pelvis all the way up into the air. That low back, the tailbone should almost still be on the floor. Does that make sense? So if you can feel your tushy lifting into the air and your low back the only thing on the floor, I want you to slide those feet slightly away from you and get your tailbone back down to the floor.
Drive the heels up towards the ceiling so they hold at 90 degrees and push the tailbone back to the floor. Good. And slowly rock the body side to side. Good. And you can move those legs around a little bit. And then you can drive the knees into the chest and grab them a hug onto the knees themselves. And then relax those hips and move them around a little bit. And then slowly rock your body back up. And I would say inhale and breathe and relax, but we've been doing that the whole time. So we're done.